one truth or lie that we're going to be talking about in the conventional world feel that MS is something that you can't help or reverse in any way.
Now I'm insured, so a lot of it's covered from the insurance company. I asked him, I said, if you just gave me $2,000 a month, I could change my diet, I could improve my health,
That's not
and I
gonna
wouldn't
happen.
need that medication probably. And they're
Well,
like, oh, you can't do that.
hey everyone. Today we are interviewing Greg and his wife Jewel. They've been struggling with MS for the past 3 years and symptoms high way before that. I'm really excited to be able to talk about a absolutely different approach to MS and the different kind of results that you can get with MS with a functional and holistic approach to it, a systemic approach. There is a system and there's a way to approach MS naturally. So I'm excited for you to watch. Wait till you see where he is now. Hey, Greg. Hey, Jewel. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves to our audience?
Okay, well, my name's Greg Madison. We live in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, near our daughter. We moved here to be near her. She's about 5 miles away from us. I'm 58, had a lot of different jobs over my career, still looking at some additional new ones, dealing with challenges. So looking forward to this.
I'm Jewel Madison, obviously Greg's wife.
That might not be obvious. You might be his hot girlfriend.
Oh, gee, that would be nice and funny. Yeah. And as he said, we are in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, near our daughter. We've loved every minute of it, so we're enjoying it here, learning a lot.
Mhm. Well, okay, so my question for you right now is, what do you feel was, Greg or Jewel, what do you think was your biggest health challenge? What was the biggest health problem that you were facing?
I was diagnosed with MS, and probably the biggest issue was the numbness in my feet that caused a balancing problem. So sometimes it made it difficult to walk. I found that one time mowing the yard when I first figured that out. So I went to a physical therapist to learn some balancing exercises to work on my stabilizers. That helped out a lot.
You know, what's interesting is you're talking about MS. A lot of people in the conventional world feel that MS is something that you can't help or reverse in any way. And that's one truth or lie that we're going to be talking about. Number two is we're going to be talking about it's not just about the MS, which affects your brain. If you think about it, you have nerves in other parts of your body, including your feet. The symptoms that you're describing with the numbness is actually neuropathy, which is numbness in the feet. So a lot of times in autoimmunity, we take a look at the one target, you go see the brain doctor, to the neurologist, and you think that's all it's about. But there are so many other targets of autoimmune attack throughout your body that it's a much bigger issue, and it's way more complex than just going to your neurologist and getting your MS medication.
Yeah, and that's what I found. I was probably most disappointed about my previous MS doctors were how little they actually knew. Didn't realize that I was low on B12. Didn't realize a lot of things, a lot of the issues we learned during the class that my doctors never really showed any interest in. They were just going to work on diagnosing me with new medications if this one didn't work. That's basically all they're going to do. They did MRIs once a year and sent me on my way.
Just to give people context, you just finished our 2-month online program working directly online with me and my team, dealing with learning how to turn around MS and any other autoimmune symptoms. What I'm hearing from you, Greg, and Jewel, you can jump in, is that I think that a lot of people don't realize is that neurologists are here to really, I think our current approach to MS is really, number one, is to measure the depth of you, measure how bad things are going. And then number two is they're here to just prescribe medication regimens. Yeah. So you fit the category for this medicine. Oh, this one worked, this one didn't. Here's your next choice. It's really kind of just an algorithm of which med is next. And then they have measurements of testing that they do to measure the decline of you.
We haven't been dealing with this for all that long either, even though he's had symptoms, which we kind of put together later. He was only diagnosed a couple of years ago. And he's 58. So for me, it was just a lot of realizing that things were changing with him. He was becoming very short, more angry, impatient. Just, I knew he was changing, but I had no idea why. I thought maybe it was work because things weren't great at work. And I know the stress, that probably contributed to some of the triggers as well. It's good and bad. In some ways, it's good we haven't had to deal with it for that long. Other ways, maybe we could have caught things earlier, which would have been better, obviously. But we're kind of new at this whole thing.
Jewel, just looking from the outside, you and Greg, how quickly do you think, how much decline was there over this 3-year period of time that you noticed? How rapid was that change?
I noticed quite quickly. And then once he was diagnosed, I noticed a lot more. I could tell he didn't want to say it, but there was fear, a lot of fear, because he wasn't getting a lot of answers. And, like he's mentioned before, you go in somewhere and he said they're all in wheelchairs. And it's like, well, and we didn't even know 100% if it was MS, because we were told there's no actual true diagnosis for MS. So you just have symptoms, which could be other things as well. And of course, I was hoping it wouldn't be MS. So it's been a little confusing, but with him, it's mostly been, I don't think he's known how to handle it. That's one of the best things about this group to me, is he has other people to connect with that are getting better, not going into a place and seeing people all just giving up. And that was his only other alternative, was to go. They mentioned something about him getting in a group with other people and meeting with them every so often. They're on this medication he was possibly going to take. He ended up taking a different one, and it was just, all I could envision is all these people in rough shape coming together and having a sob party or whatever. Woe is me kind of. And that's not what I wanted for him.
Well, Greg, you used the word sense of despair in describing how you felt before you joined the program.
Yeah, I mean, because the MS doctor didn't work on any of the other issues I had with insomnia or fatigue or brain fog. None of those were addressed. I was like, well, why not? That's obviously a big issue for a lot of other autoimmune issues.
They have no training in it. Why not? Is they have no training in it.
Yeah, we realize that now for sure.
So like when we did the hormones section in the book, in the class, I found out that I wasn't surprised that my hormones were pretty shot. I mean, yeah. That would be the technical description.
You need some help on those hormones.
Yeah.
But that's a really good point. I mean, a lot of autoimmune disease sufferers are women, right? And men is definitely a smaller percentage of this. But I think that being a smaller percentage, men often are ignored with some of their symptoms. But number two is there's such a huge hormonal component to brain injury, recovery from brain injury, and an MS that I feel like is completely being ignored by conventional doctors and neurologists. Like, what's going on with your testosterone? What's going on with your progesterone, estrogen? What's going on with your adrenals? What's happening with your thyroid? Were any of those issues even touched on by any of the doctors you've seen in the last 3 years dealing with MS? And how important are they?
Yeah, it's like, that's why I was so disappointed in the medical community. It's like, why are you doing this? You're not helping people. That's really not their job, I guess. They listen to you, they prescribe medicine, and they send you on your way.
So I want to ask you, what do you think were the top 3 most impactful things of doing the program the last 2 months?
Probably number one for me is how to talk to my doctors from an informed position. If I have the test data, I can talk to them on a different level that a lot of times they didn't expect. Understanding the vitamins and supplements that I needed and how to actually calculate that instead of just
based on your data.
Right, I'll just take a handful. Well, because in the past, believe it or not, sometimes more is better, but that's not true.
He's always thought that if a little's good, more is better. And I've always tried to tell him that's not always the case.
I called it the boatload of supplements without data is really useless. And how many people out there listening right now are taking a boatload of supplements, spending hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars on supplementation that isn't even tailored towards you based on your data. And you don't even know why the hell you're really taking it, nor is it even helping or working, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking to my sister-in-law about B12, she was surprised that there's 2 types of B12. And because she gave me a drink that had B12 in it. And I said, oh, this is cyankobal. This is the man-made chemical one.
The crappy, shitty one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you need the one that can be absorbed.
Greg, it's actually fascinating to me because B12 is actually one of the vitamins that's really crucial in nerve healing and neuropathy. Okay. Wow. So how do you think how important is actually knowing and understanding what the functional value of B12 should be optimally? And number 2, what are the right forms of B12 to take optimally? And then number 3, what's causing that severe B12 deficiency and how to fix the cause? None of this is in current MS treatment. So number 1 is being able to be educated yourself and surprising your doctors and your family members with the knowledge that you have around some vitamin and nutrient deficiencies. That's number 1 impact, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, hit me with another one.
Knowing the support of the community that you deal with the Transform group that actually cares and makes suggestions on possible solutions. So, I mean, having that community on the web is critical. I think you get some answers that you never heard from anyone else.
Well, Jewel has said that you were afraid of a community because in the past, meeting other people with MS meant seeing a whole bunch of people that are hopeless and venting and in wheelchairs, which was scary.
Yeah, who wants that?
Yeah, they wanted to talk about wheelchair grips, and things like that. The most comfortable wheelchair you could get, and that's not the direction I wanted to go.
Not on your watch and not on mine, Greg.
Right.
It's a mindset. It needs to be positive.
Well, I think there's something about positivity, but there's something about really being armed.
Yeah.
To me, this is the fight of your life. You want to be educated, armed, and ready to have conversations, collaborate, and build on a community that uplift one another, right?
Yep.
Okay, so having a positive community that's educated, armed with data and education in our program was really helpful. Number 2.
Yeah, well, because I said I talked about being able to talk to doctors from an informed position. That was really number 1.
Mhm.
Understanding the impact of vitamins and supplements.
Yeah.
That was number 2.
Yeah.
And 3 was community support.
Well, then I want to ask you, you're only 2 months out from you've only been in this for 2 months. And I call our program, 2-month program, the launch pad for a year of autoimmune turnaround. So things are going to continue to improve and many things do take time to improve, but you're armed with the skills and the knowledge for that to happen. People want to know, what are some results that you already have? This is extremely early, just 2 months in.
I mean, the numbness in my feet is not as critical. I do my little pen test where I run that down my foot. My wife was surprised, a couple of months ago, this is probably 6 months ago, she ran like a pen down my foot, just trying to be
My
funny.
finger.
And my foot didn't move.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I mean, I couldn't feel a thing.
Yeah.
And now?
Now my foot actually reacts to the pen. When I run the pen down, it actually reacts. It never did for the last,
Can I tell you
years.
something, Greg? These symptoms of neuropathy improving, and from our training that in our program that nerves take up to 12 months to heal, but within 2 months to already regain feeling in your feet is absolutely miraculous and unheard of in the conventional world. But it is not miraculous in our world because you know what? It's freaking B12 deficiency.
Yeah.
And it's hormonal issues, it's thyroid issues, it's gut issues, it's food issues that are fixable.
And the interesting thing when you say that, I don't want to cry here, but is that it gives you so much hope because it's something like, that doesn't sound as bad. And yes, it needs to be fixed as some of the words that maybe they would say and the hopelessness that you hear from the other doctors, even if it's going to take time, okay, I can deal with that. And just knowing that it's going to get better and that it's something like that versus all the words and the dread that you hear from the doctors, it's just makes a big difference in just the mindset.
It was funny. I talked to my insurance company because the medication that they gave me for MS, it runs $7,000 a month.
That's correct.
Now I'm insured, so a lot of it's covered from the insurance company. I asked them, I said, if you just gave me, say, $2,000 a month, I could change my diet, I could improve my health, and I wouldn't need that medication probably. And they're like, oh, you can't do that.
They can't because the interesting thing is, if you think about just $7,000 per month for the medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And these are kind of medications you can take for the rest of your life. And when you think about compared to what the investment is in our program, I think people don't have a really true understanding of how much we're actually paying for medications and procedures that don't work, or it can make us worse. But your point is, it can be prevented.
They're not looking to do that. We know that. Yeah.
I know that the numbness in your feet is improving. Any other symptoms that you've seen an improvement on so far? I know it's early.
The brain fog has not been nearly as bad. Fatigue is getting better, I think, as my sleep gets better. So I'm trying to sleep through the night because I had some other issues dealing with bladder and prostate. So
it's like you're going through menopause or something.
Yeah. So I'm addressing those issues, and that just takes a little time to go through. I think start taking that. I think it's palmetto.
Saw palmetto, and a lot of this is hormones too. Managing your hormones better too. There's a big piece of hormonal component to prostate issues.
Yeah, the DHEA. That's I'm doing the spray right now and see after 90 days how that kind of test again and see where I'm at.
All right, I want to ask Jewel this question. What's been your favorite part of seeing Greg go through this program with us and you starting to also learn this with him right now? What's your favorite thing about working with us?
I think for me, it's the biggest thing I think is just seeing that he has hope. That's honestly the biggest part for me is his attitude. His impatience has gotten better. And I'm sure some of it's vitamins, some of it's understanding that, he's not alone. He has help. He's getting better and he knows it. I think that's for a lot of people, if you don't have that idea in your head that you have a chance to get better.
Well, the point is that you can't get better with MS unless you actually have hormonal recovery too. And going through Greg, you found out you had a new thyroid diagnosis going through our program that no one even picked up.
Yeah, Hashimotos, and that's something that no one's mentioned that.
Well, because they're focused on you were seeing the neurologist for your brain. Who cares about your thyroid?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm debating on, I have a new MS doctor that I'm supposed to see next week, and I'm debating on whether or not I bring it up to him or not about the recent diagnosis that I have Hashimoto's also.
You can bring it up, but it's not in their purview. They're so specialized in the brain and the meds for MS. They really aren't all that interested, but it's fine to bring it up, but they don't see autoimmunity as a holistic picture like that involves all parts of your body. You're sent to specialists for each part, and they all just work in their own little department, basically.
Yeah, because I feel like coming armed with all the data that I have now, all the tests, and ask the doctor, what do you do about this? Do you address this? Just kind of paint him in a corner, I guess, to make him think about it.
Let me ask you something, and either one of you can answer. What's something that, Greg, you can do now that's effortless, where 2 months ago you thought was impossible?
Probably something simple as reading. Before, I'd get lost all the time. I'm going to have to read something over and over and over.
Yeah. The hardest part about that, I think, is for me, is I've known him for many years, probably 40 years we've been together, and he's extremely intelligent, very good common sense. He's always used to be the one that would tell me, because I met him when I was still in high school, and he would tell me, you got to study smart, you don't have to study long, you have to study smart, you learn how to do it. And it's always been, he's very intelligent. And then for him to even say to me that he's having trouble memorizing, he's having trouble with reading. He wanted, when he first found out about MS, I bought a book for him to read that he asked me to get. And then he told me, I can't even read that. He got the CD version or something so he could listen to it. And just to see those little things, it's like, as his wife, it's like, in him being the breadwinner and everything, and he's always done so well. He's, so smart, and he's had programs that he's created, this, that, and the other thing. And then to hear him say something like that,
it's heartbreaking.
You almost don't believe it. I mean, I figured he was exaggerating until time went on. I realized he wasn't, and it was quite a change.
Can I give you guys a personal observation that I noticed was I remember the first 3-4 weeks of the program and Greg really struggling with his memory. You said you couldn't read. I noticed that there were things we talked about in 1 week of the mastermind, and the next week you forgot that we actually talked about it. And I said to go back and look at the recording, and sure enough, it was there. But I can tell you right now, talking to you week 7, week 8, and even recently, your comprehension and retention is so much better. It's night and day.
I've noticed it in little ways. I don't sit down with him with business stuff. So a lot of times I didn't realize this. When he first told me he was having fogginess and everything, I was just like, I found it hard to believe.
And sometimes you can hide it for a long time, and then it hits a threshold, and all of a sudden you can no longer hide it. And then it's obvious to everyone else. By then, it's usually really huge.
I know he didn't want to worry me. He didn't want me to be concerned with everything going on. And I attributed the whole thing to stress because of things at work that had been going on. And I knew he was having a somewhat of a decline, but I just assumed it was being tired and all the basic things. I had no earthly idea it was going to be something like this.
Okay. So I want to ask either one of you this question, and both of you may be able to answer it. The question is, why did you almost not join the program? I'll ask Greg and I'll ask Jewel.
The biggest reason was probably just financial strain, because I looked, my income has changed quite a bit from what it used to be. So it was a financial strain, but the more I looked at it, it's like, this is something I have to do. One way or another, I have to do this. So we made some additional sacrifices and then did the program. If I'd had this program 5 years ago, I wouldn't even thought about it. I just wrote the check. Today, things are a little bit different.
I think the biggest thing is until I really started listening to some of your other recordings in the group that I had access to. It wasn't the personal group, but I finally started realizing how much of a role that vitamins and food were going to play. Because I thought, well, I really wasn't thinking about that being part of it. I thought, well, what other than support, what could you offer? So going through some of your videos now and listening to some of your things on Facebook, I realized, wow, it's totally different than is going to realize until they start listening to you. So
I don't think, unless you know now that you've been through the program, it's the whole kit and caboodle. But if you didn't know even how do you know what you don't know?
right, exactly.
Well, I have a question. Who would you recommend this program to? Greg and then Jewel.
Well, any of my friends or family or members or acquaintances that I know that are dealing with autoimmune issues, they definitely benefit from it. I've already asked a few of them that have like diabetes or different things, or one of our son-in-law has Crohn's. So I've talked to them specifically because we had a mastermind meeting, and one of the other gentlemen in the meeting, he was new to the group, had Crohn's.
Yep.
And they covered some very specific things, and I wrote down a lot of notes about that, and I talked to my son-in-law about that, and guess what? His doctor hadn't done any of that.
Of course he hasn't.
It was like, well, these are things that you need to check on. I mean, the supplements that you need to look at. If you had your vitamin D check lately, and here's why it's important. And going through
Wow.
that, I would have never known that before.
Greg, you are so powerful.
Well, the funny thing is, like, just today we saw my daughter and we were talking a little bit to her about some of this for her husband with Crohn's. And I mentioned something about once you do your food mapping, you'll know specific foods, which was a big eye opener to me, that instead of getting rid of all these foods, because I've been getting rid of nightshades, you name it, just getting rid of everything. But then you're left with so little that I didn't know what to make.
You're left with so little that you become incredibly nutritionally depleted.
Yes. You said that when I talked to you, you said something about he needs nutrition. And I thought, man, I guess I just assumed he was getting it with salads, but we were so limited that we probably weren't. And my daughter, I just noticed even talking to her that her husband is at a point in his life where he's kind of just given up on trying things. And he just has a couple of things he can eat and he sticks to that and that's it. And it's like, so.
Yeah, he's only worked on elimination. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't reintroduce things 8 weeks later. Here's how you do it.
And I could tell she wasn't really quite, I think she wants him to do well, but she knows he's just not willing. He would have to listen to you in one of your videos or something on Facebook before maybe his eyes would be open enough to consider something.
Well, you know what it is. I think it's important. There's a lot of people watching this video, and a lot of them are at different stages of acceptance and action. I think it's really great that we are meeting people with this video at all different levels of readiness or not ready. But I think Greg's point is that anyone with autoimmunity can benefit from it. You could already see people in your own circle, friends or family, who could benefit from this program.
Yeah, probably one of the other biggest issues that I ran across, thankfully for the group, was the blood sugar. I had my first blood sugar crash about 3 months ago, and I had no idea what it was. And I was like stumbling way more than normal. I couldn't think clearly. I was starting to sweat, and I had no idea what it was, and it turned out to be blood sugar.
It's not his first one, but it's second.
Now you guys realize it. You're not a diabetic. Why should you worry about blood sugar?
Yeah, because my A1C has always been fine.
So that's not a blood sugar crash.
His blood pressure is what we figured. He had low blood pressure or something. That's what we kind of thought.
Blood sugar affects blood pressure.
Learn those things.
Right. So now I carry glucose tablets wherever I go. Yeah.
But you've changed your diet to master blood sugar, so you never even have to take one of those blood sugar tablets ever. Okay, well, thank you so much to the two of you. I appreciate you sharing your living room and your journey through our program. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview from Greg and Jewel just as much as I did. A lot of times people think MS is this inevitable sad decline where you have no control or influence. And Greg and Jewel is a perfect example of taking matters into their own hands. They joined our program 2 months ago, and armed with the education and the data and the mindset and community support, they're forging a whole new life with MS, and they're already seeing huge improvements in neuropathy, in brain fog, and mood, you name it. So If you found this helpful for you, that's great. Please make sure you've joined our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally. If you know somebody that can benefit from this video, they may not listen to you, but they may listen to Greg or Jewel, or they may listen to me. Go ahead and tag their name in the comments and invite them to also join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, where we have a kick-ass community of 32,000 plus, and there's tons of trainings in there about MS and many other autoimmune diagnoses. Go ahead and join that group. We'll see you in there. Have a great day, everybody.